Awesome Rider Wiki.
Hey YouTube, Awesome Rider here. Welcome to my review for the Power Rangers Dino Thunder White Ranger Lightning Collection figure. One of the more controversial additions due to him kind of forgetting to put on his face. But we'll get to that. Before we start, I want to say it's a Walgreens exclusive because it matches their color scheme, so I guess they went for that. At least here in the US. It showed up in like all the other Earths a million years ago, but here in the US it is a Walgreens exclusive. As per usual, just to start with the packaging, same nice packaging, which looks really cool. I love the art on all these, especially for my favorite Ranger suit of all time. And then on the back it shows you what it should have looked like with the black trim around its face. So that's what it was supposed to look like, but good box as always. Accessories wise, you get 2 extra hands, just kind of one holding and then one open hand. And then of course you get Trent's face. And you can put this on any of the Rangers you'd want him to voice and it'll work. And it's honestly not bad. Looks a little bit like the royalty-free version, which I feel like I've been saying a lot, but overall pretty solid, and at least his face is painted, unlike his main part. And then here you can see he also comes with his sword, which is decently painted as well. It's worth noting that I believe, I'll have it here in a second, but the Legacy one was in the closed up mode and this is in like the extended mode. And other than the fact that it's missing the little eyes there, which kind of throws me off, I think it looks pretty good. The gold paint looks good, contrasts off the white nicely. It's a pretty accurate size, I'm not too displeased with it. And then you have this part here, which is honestly one of my favorite Lightning Collection effect parts. I talked about in the last few reviews how I'm getting really sick of the lightning parts because they're all kind of boring and the same, unless they give it a really unique item that is specific to that ranger or an attack or something. And this is a great example of that. It's the white Drago sword. Laser arrows. And that's really cool. Like, it's unique, it's cool, it's something I would actually use. So I actually really like that, and that's one of the huge bonuses of the figure. But I'm going to take it off right now so we can show it off. So as you can see, the biggest problem with this guy is his foot. He's missing the black eyeliner around his face. You know, he didn't go Jack Sparrow this time. And you know, I'm pretty lenient on the Lightning Collection. I definitely think that there's been problems with this line, things that can be fixed in general, but I do also think a lot of fans are really hard on it and be like, oh my god, dude, his elbow isn't painted. I can't believe this is trash. And like, that's how a lot of people are being. And this is a $20 figure line, so you are expecting a little bit more out of it because it's collector grade, but it's also not a $100 figure, and people kind of act like they spent $100 and they're the Queen of England when they get these things. But for me, this is kind of inexcusable. This is a major detail. It looks unfinished. It looks like the prototype. It looks like just a one-off mistake. So that's one of the few times I really do think it's inexcusable, just for how bad it looks, and especially since on the box, it shows it. And it's not unheard of for a figure to have something on the box that's not quite there, but this is a pretty big mistake, and it's really unfortunate for me, especially because this is my favorite Ranger suit of all time, and we get a Lightning figure fairly early, and then this happens. And yes, you can fix it. I know people say, of course you can fix it, but you really shouldn't have to. Like, it's not a big deal if he's missing a little paint here or here that no one's gonna notice and you wanna touch it up. But for something that major, and again, this is an $80 figure, but even for an $8 figure, it shouldn't be missing such a main detail. Like, if this was an $8 figure, I'd be more lenient on it, but you shouldn't have to fix something like that yourself. That'd be like getting a raw hamburger and be like, dude, you can just cook it yourself, what's your problem? And honestly, this isn't the main comparison, but I wanted to bring this in because it reminded me of this. This is a Hurricaneger figure for Quagga, but this was a mistake. This is not what the figure's supposed to look like. I got this from eBay a long time ago, and it's a mistake. I know the figure's not supposed to look like that. It was a screw up at the factory for this, probably not this one figure, but it wasn't supposed to happen on all the figures. They accidentally didn't paint this and it's blue, but this probably only happened in a handful of figures at most. And at the moment, this is for all of them. But let's talk about it without that, after that rant. And overall, except for that, I think that the proportions of the helmet are well done. This is a little bit more of a hard one to do because it's got an angular look to it. I think for the most part, the proportions of the helmet itself are nice. I do think that even without the eyeliner though, that the visor itself is a little bit too squinty. Even if that had the right black eye paint, it still looks a little bit too thin for me personally, based on, even you can tell from the art, it's a little bit thicker, so that's also a little bit of a nitpick. But I think everything else looks good. Like, the black and white look really good. It's got a really nice matte finish to it. It feels quality. It's kind of hard to screw up, like, literally a black and white color scheme, but I think, like, from the neck down, the figure looks good. I'm very happy with the details. I think it looks nice and professional. I'm happy with it that way. The back is painted. Obviously, you can sort of tell that you can take this off and put it on other things when you pop the head off to switch to Trent's head if you want. Articulation is your par for the course Lightning Collection stuff. No loose joints to report on mine, which is really nice. My leg joint here, knee joint here, chest and waist, head and neck, all that fun. Okay, but now let's get into some comparisons, shall we? So this guy doesn't have quite as many different versions as a lot of the ones I usually have comparisons for. But so you have the Legacy one right here. As you can see right off the bat, he won't stand for me. Cobalt side, there we go. So as you can see, it's taller just like all of them, and he does have that more muscly build. And then obviously there was a difference in the fact that this guy's back wasn't painted, which definitely sucks, especially for a collector grade figure, but and I'm not saying it's excusable, but how many people display their figures like this? I'm just saying. And then his weapon wasn't as detailed, and it is indeed the closed up mode you can see there, so there's a bit of a difference there. But honestly, I stand by this figure. I don't think it's so bad, and especially when you compare the head sculpts here, I actually think this is a pretty good head sculpt. It's not perfect. It's a little bit flatter here than it should be, but it also does have that nice slender look, and I think the visor is the right, like, thickness. And not only do they paint it, but the red is the right thickness, and so I think this has a lot better of a head sculpt. I think even once this is painted, this one looks a little bit better. I feel like people just want to discount the Lightning or the Legacy collection altogether, and I think it did occasionally do some things right, and I still think this is a solid head sculpt. Not perfect. I don't think either of them are perfect. I mean, pretending this thing is painted right, neither of them are perfect, but they're pretty good, but I stand by this. I have seen someone pull this off and put it on theirs, but I tried and I could not get mine off of here, so I don't know, I didn't want to break it, but I think that this has a strong head sculpt, and I stand by it. I don't think it's that bad. I mean, the paint on the back wasn't the greatest thing, or not being painted on the back, but considering the limited options, it was still a nice figure, and I still stand by it. And speaking of, here's another comparison. This is the original 2004 release, which is why I sort of stood by this and was okay with it. Like, it wasn't perfect, but it was a significant upgrade over the real only other option, which was this one, aside from the Sentai Vinyl Abre Killer for an articulated figure. Power up! I forgot that guy could do that. Never mind, this guy's the best! This guy, you can see, obviously, has a very strange and inaccurate head sculpt, and it's one of those classic figures in the old Bandai Muscly line. But I like these figures just for collecting the history of figures, but obviously both of these are an upgrade from this one, outside of the trim, obviously, there. But he has more limited options, which is why I was pretty okay with this guy. So overall, getting to the final verdict of this guy's a bit weird. Also, this dude can't stand. I don't know if you can tell because I'm holding him up. Anyway, but getting for a verdict is kind of weird for this one, because honestly, I kind of don't want to recommend it, because I think that the paint on the visor is one of the most inexcusable things the line has done, and I don't want to see people buy it and then get sales anyway. I say that as I bought it to review it. It's kind of a catch-22, because I have to tell you not to buy it, so I wouldn't recommend picking this up. Now, somebody did try to contact them, and they said they'd send a replacement head. We'll see if they ever do a re-release or something else. Maybe they'll do his Super Dino mode or whatever, and that'll include the right head. So, I mean, I would just wait. If I were you, unless you're really, really impatient. If you're really impatient, it's overall, except for that, a decent figure, and I could say go pick it up and get yourself a Gundam marker if you want to do that, if you're really desperate. But otherwise, if you have the patience, I would wait. Remember that famous quote from Obi-Wan, patience! But anyway, that's about it for this one, guys. Until next time, like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell. It's going to use for my videos. Dawson Rider, signing out.